Welcome to this week's blogging video. This video is all about how to best leverage your blogging business. And I have learned a lot about how to do this in the last 5 years, and there's so many things that I wish I could go back and tell myself on how to leverage my business better from a financial standpoint, from a mental standpoint, from a team standpoint, just a lot of different things. So let's dig into it. Okay, really quickly, my name is Sophia. I have the blog by Sophia Lee. I started it when I was going into my sophomore year of college. I was dirt poor, paying for college completely on my own, and I saw a mom blogger who was raising her kids and making like $200,000 a month, and I was like, if she can do it, being a stay-at-home mom, stay at home in quotes because obviously she was working on her blog, but while raising kids, I can do it from my dorm room. So that's exactly what I did, and now I own a 7-figure business, and the blog has really helped me start multiple businesses from it, and I really like just teaching and going over the things that I've learned. So with that little introduction, I want to start out this video. So I actually got this video idea from one of Jenna Kutcher's podcasts, and I love Jenna Kutcher. I think she's genius. I love her body positivity, her business mindset. I just really admire her as a mom, business person, and woman. And she hits on some really, really good topics, but this podcast specifically really stuck out to me, and I thought it was just such a good topic because I have learned so much about it, and it really is about leveraging your business. So I have multiple different facets that I want to go into discussing this. So let's get into it. I would recommend listening to the podcast, which will be linked down below. But first, let me just hit on some things because then you can think about them while you're listening to the podcast. So the first topic is that you need to think about the future goals of your business and then figure out how to leverage your knowledge now to then help aid those future business goals. So I always give this example on how I handled my business. I knew that I wanted to start a design firm, but I was going into my sophomore year of college. I was 19 years old, and the type of design firm that I wanted to have was very high-end clients, and I knew that I did not have the knowledge at that point to talk about or have anything to show about that had to do with like high-end home design clients. So I worked backwards and was like, okay, what is my knowledge currently right now that can then take me to that spot in the future? And so what I did know is that when I went to college, I really cared about decorating my dorm room, and I was like, thinking in my head as the steps, I was like, if someone cares about decorating their dorm room, they're gonna care eventually about decorating their apartment, and then they're gonna care about decorating their home. And if I can almost like handhold them through those experiences and go through it with them, then by the time that they're ready to hire an interior designer or decorate their home, I'm gonna be one of the first people that they think about. And that has worked out really, really great for me. And I think that the importance of that is not just thinking about like your current spot in life, but more importantly thinking about where you want to be in the future. I'm a super goal-oriented person. Like every single thing that I do because of goals that I've had set up, and I think that's one of the reasons why this business has been so successful, is because I'm never being like, oh, like what's next? Like we always as a team know what we're trying to aim for and what's next, and that's been really, really helpful. And none of this would have been possible if I didn't think about my current position at the time that I started my blog and where I wanted it to go. The second point that I want to talk about is when to say yes and when to say no. If you have listened to my YouTube videos on blogging, you know that I am constantly harping on ROI. ROI stands for return on investment, and when I first started my blog, I either read an article or listened to a podcast, I don't even remember at this point, on talking about ROI. And from that very moment, every single thing that I did, I considered, what is my return on investment for this? And obviously that has changed a lot in the last 5 years. The first year of my blog, I made the decision I'm only doing things that will earn me money. And that was because I was a broke college student and I needed something to earn me money. And I kind of I kept that up for like a few years. And then my ROI has now shifted more to how can I create the strongest community and the longest term game for this business. And so we're investing a lot of money into the future place of the business. We're not going to see those results in a really long time. We knew that we were going to see a decline before we saw an incline. But we're being really strategic about it because we know that the return on investment in the future is going to be really high. But in the beginning, I was playing the long-term game, as I said. I'm kind of contradicting myself, but I think you guys can understand. Like, in the beginning, I was so focused on what can I do to make the money the absolute fastest. And now, because we have that income coming in and that like passive income working for us, it's more along the lines of what do I want this business to be long-term? What do I want my life to be long-term? And that has really taught me a lot. If you would have asked me last year what type of business I wanted to have, I would have said I wanted to have a huge business. I wanted to have like $1 billion business, have hundreds and hundreds of employees, and, have a big office, secretary, everything. And now I'm like, nope, I am totally fine with having a small team. I want to know my team. I want to know their families. And as long as I can provide for my team and myself, that is what I'm satisfied with. And I think that is just like also being in line with your goals and knowing what your priorities are. And of course, they're going to shift throughout your businesses, but at least or throughout your phases of your businesses, but at least having those in the back of your mind will really help you know like what things you should be saying yes to versus what things you should be saying no to. Number 3. Okay, so she talked about this, and one of the points that she made was when to continue the grind. Out of all the points, this is probably the most apparent to me in my current phase of life. So I have grinded hard for the last 5 to 6 years. Like, I have been a working machine. I look back and I'm like, have I really enjoyed my life, or have I just made my life working? And that's something that I'm working on changing. But I needed to do that in the beginning to get my business. And I still say to this day, when I'm filming this video, I'm 25 years old, and I'm always like, I have 5 more years of grinding, because then when I turn 30, I want to have kids and I want to be more focused on my family. But if I can grind for 5 more years, I'll have the business completely set up and running behind the scenes so that I can enjoy that time. And it's just knowing that I constantly, I heard someone talk about how there's phases in your life, and some phases are focused towards business, some phases are focused towards life, some phases are focused towards family, etc. And in the beginning, I took my blog so seriously that's what it was about. And I knew that if I took that time that seriously then, that I would be able to have the freedom in the future. And I think that for everyone starting out, you really have to have that in the back of your head, because it is consuming. Your entire life will be consumed by it. But by putting that time now, you can really set yourself up for the future and the life that you want to have in the future. I have my notes. Okay, number 4, when to take it to the next level. So for me, Jenna also talked about this. She's from the Midwest. She's from a similar area as me. And she talked about how having a safety net is really, really important to her. And that is the same exact way that I am. I need to have I need to know that if the economy was to fall, or that something in the business wasn't to do well, that we have backing and we're going to be completely fine. And when I don't feel like I have that, I spiral. And so I've made it really important that we have our eggs in multiple different baskets. We've gone through phases where we've had too many baskets. Honestly, we're slightly still in that phase, but at least now we have the team in the appropriate spots. And then also for savings, emergency funds, I need to have those in place before I'm ready to take the business to the next level. So one of the spots where we really took like BSL to the next level is when we bought the first restoration. And if you don't know anything about the restoration, then you can go to my like actual like personal channel by Sophia Lee. And essentially we bought this house, and it was a total gut job house, and we put hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars into it and ended up selling it for $1 million, over $1 million. And we took our readers through the whole entire process, but we also show people, like I wanted to show people what I could do. It was like a brand project. Like, you know how like builders have spec homes? Essentially it was a spec home for the design business, and that was such a next level point. But obviously that involved so much money. Like that was not a cheap next level point, and I still freaked out the entire time. Like I would be lying if I said I was like not freaking out. Like, Sarah, how many times did I call you be like, the business is done?
Literally once a week, probably 3 times a week.
3 times a week, yeah. Like it was a nightmare really for Sarah especially. But the fact of the matter is that we had enough backing that even if shit was to hit the fan, we were gonna be completely fine. And I think that at least for me, is really important. And I even think like if we're gonna get more like nitty gritty about this, like as far as affiliates, like Amazon, when I am talking about this right now, just a few weeks ago, they slashed their commission rates by 50%. That is major for some people. Like I think about the TikTokers. Have you thought about this? Like the TikTokers that solely revolve around Amazon commission, and they just like lost, they just lost 50% of their income in a click of an eye without zero warning. And I was so grateful in that moment that we did not have to freak out about that. Obviously that sucks. Like that's 50% of our income from last year that we're not gonna have. But because we have so many different revenue streams, I wasn't like in an absolute spiral where in the past I probably would have been. So just for me to have that like next level moment points, I like to have the safety net in the background of knowing like I will be fine even if this next level fails, essentially. And that's allowed me to not be scared of failing, which I think is another like huge point and another really great way to grow your business. Also, I feel like I just had in the back of my mind people rolling their eyes, because I get this a lot of people being like, it's daddy's money or spouse's money, whatever it is. Or people being like, well, obviously it was easy for her to have all that savings. I want to remind you that I literally had nothing. Like I started from ground zero. I paid for college on my own, paid for my everything, basically on my own. So if you're feeling like there's no way that you can do it, you can do it. You just have to work your butt off to do it. It is not easy, but you definitely can do it. And lastly, this is so important, and I don't necessarily think that this was not apparent for me in the beginning of my blog. Like the first 3 years, I was on such a high of doing the blog, and I was so excited about it that I didn't experience this quite yet. But the next point and the last point that I want to talk about is, when is your enough point? And in the last year and a half, honestly, I've had multiple like enough points. Like, why am I doing this? I know how lucky I am, and I know how grateful I am for this business, and I'm so blessed. But I work literally, like my mind doesn't shut off from this business. I fall asleep at night thinking about it. I work on the weekends, like it's just a constant. And especially when I started implementing social media into it, I'm putting myself out there every single day. I have hate comments all the time. People are constantly giving their opinions about what I'm doing, if they like something that I'm doing, if they don't like something that I'm doing. So, like you can think that you're putting out the best video ever and take so long on it, and then like TikTok or Instagram decides to not show it. Like there's so many factors, and it has been I have a really thick skin. So like the hate comments actually don't get to me, but what does get to me is like when my stats plummet, which happens all the time. Like, that is like a constant roller coaster ride. Like, honestly, right now, Instagram and TikTok do not like me. Why? I don't know. And that is something that I'll never know. It's just part of the platforms. Like, sometimes they decide to show your stuff and sometimes they don't. And there's nothing that you can really do about it. And that has been not easy for me because I'm such a control freak and I freak out all the time when something's not doing well. And I just have had this like, enough. Like, this is like not worth my time and energy. And because of the way that we set up business, like TikTok and Instagram obviously add a lot of income. They add a lot of affiliate income for us, but more importantly, they're more of the community. And our businesses, even without our Instagram and TikTok doing amazing, still, you know, make money. And that's like the really important part about it. And you have to know personally for you, like when basically like what your mindset needs to be so you don't run into the burnout. Because I'm right now in the biggest burnout from social media. Like, I don't even want a story or post a TikTok video or post an Instagram because I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, why would I even spend my time on this when I know it's gonna do bad? Which is a terrible way of thinking, but honestly, that's what's happening right now. But then I think back to the summer in August, I thought my social media was doing horrible. And the next week later, we ended up getting like a video went viral and we got like 5,000 followers in 1 week. And it's that validity of like not knowing when it's gonna happen is the hardest part. But I think just having like your mental health in check on that one and realizing that there's nothing really you can do. Like, as long as you continue being consistent, it's out of your hands. And that has been really important for me. Also, I've had to learn that with hiring. Like, we went through another phase last year where the entire team was so burnt out because we didn't have enough hands for what we were trying to do. And so we hired multiple people. And I think that, Sarah, I think the team works a lot better now.
Oh my God, night and day.
It's night and day. And same, I hired a business coach because I was like, I am not a good leader and I really need help with this. And she helped me so much. And I think that it's learning, like, I hit a point that I was like, I could care less the money in the bank account if I'm not enjoying my life. And I think the entire team felt that way. And not necessarily like where my mind was, but more like, why am I working this job when I can go work at another job where I don't have this stress or this amount of work? And so I really had to like we really restructured the entire business and it works so much better. And that's where also my mindset shifted on, I don't want a huge company. I don't want to be working 24/7. I want to be enjoying my life. I want to travel. I want to go to a restaurant. One of my goals is to be able to go to a restaurant and order any single thing on the menu that I want to order just because I want to try it. And obviously you need to work really hard to be able to do that. But I think it's just knowing your priorities and knowing like what is your enough phase, what is your burnout phase, what do you want to do with your life, etc. So highly recommend checking out that podcast. I know this video was like a little different than we usually do, but I just think these points are so important to make because blogging, especially in the beginning when it's just you don't have a team, no one around you understands what you're doing, it can be really, really lonely. And I always say this too is, you know, when I say that I started making money in a year, it sounds really fast, but when I was working every single day, saying no to things and spending literally my entire life thinking about it, or my entire year thinking about it, a year is not a short amount of time. It felt like a really, really long time. It was really lonely. But it's nice to know that this is like a common occurrence in the business, and I just really resonated with a lot of the things that she was talking about. So definitely check it out. Make sure to watch my other YouTube videos. Check out my blogging courses. I am the biggest blogging course fan ever. I swear that's how I was able to grow my blog so much quicker. I took so many blogging courses, and when I knew enough, there were multiple things that I had to learn myself that weren't in blogging courses. So basically I created my own where I went into every single detail that I would have ever wanted to know when I started my blog. and they're the courses that I wish I had when I first started. So definitely check those out. We have 3 of them. One about perfecting blogging, which is like our SEO course on how we actually run our website. One on Pinterest, which is my Pinterest strategy, and then one on email. We also just launched a blogging iPad planner. So if you have an iPad, definitely check it out. It is like gold. It is so, so good. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the email list. I'm really going through my head. I'm like, what am I forgetting? But I think that's it. I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you at next week's blogging video.